Hey y'all, it's Nancy the Handy Scandy. Welcome back for another crafty venture. Today I am sharing with you my gel plate Sunday playtime. So I had a neighbor over on Sunday and we just were getting crafty, pulled out the gel plates and just played. So thankfully I had my camera rolling and was able to capture a few of my pulls that I wanted to share with you today. So here we go. So I have my 8.5 by 11 gel plate pull gel plate rather, that I'm putting my ink down, and then I have a 5 by 7 and a 3 by 5, and I'll use those for roll-offs. And in the end, if you stick around, you'll see a couple bonus prints that I was able to get off those two smaller plates. So I started with the thought that I was just going to do some circular mark making with all of these treasures from my trash bin. But I decided that I really wanted more color on this, so I have a yellow, a pink, and a purple are the colors that I put in the background, and then here I'm just grabbing random colors from my bin, and well, it's actually a tin. So you can see that I'm using alcohol inks. They are Ranger alcohol inks. I have no idea what the colors are. Yeah, I typically don't look at the color names. I just look for a color. This one actually happens to be a pearl. I did not mean to grab any of the pearls, but I had it in my hand and I shook it up and it's just very pretty. So I'm able to do a lot of mark making with this particular one. Yeah, so if you guys aren't familiar with gel plates, if you've never played with one before, if you don't have one before, drop me a comment downstairs. Let me know your thoughts on this process. It's very much unpredictable art, but I like unpredictable art. I am about the furthest thing from a perfectionist that you'll ever meet, and so unpredictable art is right up my alley. So here is my first pull. You can see that I used some white acrylic paint as the pull medium. So once this was all dry, I used the acrylic paint to brayer over it, and then I put my paper on top, and that wet layer of acrylic paint pulled all of these beautiful alcohol inks from the gel plate itself. So I think it's beautiful. It's a little messy, but again, that does not bother me. So here I go for plate or pull number 2. I actually have done a couple off screen, but again, being mindful of your time, I decided not to show those. I show the finished products or the finished pulls in the end, but the process was nothing remarkable. So this time I laid down some yellow to start with. I think it was a honeycomb. I happen to remember that one. And then you can see I've got a green on the right, a blue in the middle, and then kind of a pink on the end. And I wish that I had not brayered these out as much as I did, because it gets a little muddy in that background. So that is totally my bad, but it's okay. So I let those inks dry a little bit, because when I lifted the stencil, I didn't want it all to spread out. I wanted it to stay in the puddles that it was in. So here again, you can see that I'm using just some white acrylic paint as the pull medium. So I brayer that out in a very, very thin layer. They say that you should be able to see your pattern underneath that layer. You need very, very little. In fact, if you use too much, you're just going to get a smeary mess. So here I have put my paper down on it, rubbing, trying to make sure that it has total adhesion to the gel plate, and there's my pull. So there you can see what I'm talking about with the muddiness, but overall it's still very pretty. So here is my third pull, and I'm going with a little diagonal rainbow action. So I've got some orange and some red, some purple, some blue, some green, and then I go in with a greeny yellow there at the top. So just brayering them all out, using my gel or my art journal off to the side that you can't see, using that as my brayer off page. So I don't want to make mud. But then when that yellowy green just kind of bled into the orange, I decided I wanted to use my alcohol inks just to see if I could make some more circles. And I go a little circle crazy. So in the end, this ends up being a bit of a jumbled mess. But again, I don't hate it. So for some of you, especially if you're perfectionists, if you like control, Yeah, this may not be for you, at least the way I do it may not be for you. There are a million different ways that you can use your gel plate. I am still very much a novice, very much a beginner. I do a lot of basic stuff, but I don't do a whole lot of advanced stuff. But I am very content with where I'm at in this process. And as I go, I will add more difficulty, more techniques to my arsenal. I don't know, I'm lost for words, but anyway, I'm okay with where I'm at now. So drop me a comment downstairs on your thoughts on the gel plate altogether. If you have one and you haven't pulled it out, what's been holding you back? Think about it. If you're inspired, go ahead, pull it out, play with it for a little bit. Birgit Koopson is doing a month-long challenge. I think she's mostly on Instagram, not so much on Facebook or YouTube, but she is on both a little bit. But she is a brand ambassador with Jelly Arts, and yeah, so she does a month-long challenge for the month of May. I'm not even sure what the different day challenges are, but I know that essentially it's mark making, all month long, different things that you can use for mark making. So as I said, I go a little crazy with these dots on this pull, and there's a lot of ink, so I'm waiting, I'm touching, I'm waiting. I don't even know how much time in between each of these trials where I'm touching the thicker parts. Is it dry? Is it dry? Let me encourage you, wait for it to dry. Exercise that patience and wait. And so here I'm picking it up, I'm looking at it in the light, and my gel plate is yellowed. So it just is what it is. But here I decided, okay, it's dry enough. So I put down my white paint, and it's too much. So I'm trying to brayer some of that off. But instead of rolling, it's smearing. And I'm so afraid at this point that I've just ruined all of that spot work that I've done. So I get to a point where I have lifted enough of that white paint off. I turn it over just to see if I've smeared it. But no, I can still see the pattern. So slow down, and here is the pull. Again, very messy, but so much color, and it's not a perfect pull. You can see where a lot of the pigment was left behind on the gel plate, but I actually do another pull that I don't show, and it was able to pull up some of those leftovers. So here they are in reverse order. That is the mandala one that got muddy. These are the two that I did off screen. That's another mandala, and that's the pull afterwards with some yellow. And then that's my first one with the circles. Now for the bonus prints, the 5x7 plate and the 3x5 plate. So I have just been adding layers and layers of white and or kind of a buff colored paint to these throughout my gel plate session, and the paint just got thicker and thicker. So I added some other colors, and I knew that because that paint is so thick, it's going to take time to dry and for all those layers to adhere to the wet layer. So I thought I would add some polka dots, just knowing that whatever you put on the very last layer is going to be the back of the pull. Whatever's on first is going to be the front of the pull. So these both needed some time, so I set them aside probably a good 30, maybe 45 minutes before I pulled. But look at that grungy goodness. That is my favorite one of the day. Oh my gosh, and this one is my second favorite. It's pulling up some of those beautiful grungy bits along the edges. I'm so happy with that. And you'll see in a second all the polka dots. You see the circles or the polka dots that got left there in the corners. That'll be good for another pull. But look at all those layers, and look at the variations of the circles from the polka dot stencil. I am just loving it. These will both likely become part of my tag book. I have a lot of different things that will be going in my tag book, so stay tuned for that. Guys, thank you so much for spending some time with me on this gel plate fun day that happened to take place on Sunday. If you liked the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you're not already a subscriber, I'd encourage you to do so and invite you back. For those of you who are already subscribers and support me, thank you so much. You guys mean the world to me. And until next time, this is Nancy, the Handy Scandy. Mwah! I am out.